UFC Fight Night, McDonald versus Stevens. Or Thompson, I mean, my bad. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Ali Bagatina versus Gene Herrera. Gene Herrera is basically just a good jiu-jitsu guy, but that's about it. I feel like Ali's got the better wrestling and striking. I just don't think Gene's going to be able to take this to the ground. I think Ali will use his kind of sprawl and brawl style to win by TKO. Probably late second, early third. Next is Colby Covington versus Jonathan Muir. And Muir looks like he's a decent striker, and he's got some grappling, but I just feel like Colby Covington's going to overwhelm this guy with his wrestling. He's going to be able to force this. He's going to keep on getting takedowns, beat this guy up, and probably either win a really one-side unanimous decision or late submission. Next is Ronda Marcos versus Jolie Jones. And Jones just looks all right. I feel like they're kind of trying to give Ronda a win because she was on The Ultimate Fighter. So they're kind of giving her an easy fight. I think her jiu-jitsu is just a lot better than this chick's overall grappling is going to be. So I think Ronda's going to be able to take this fight to the ground a bunch and probably win by submission. I'm going to say in the first, maybe second. Next is Elias Theodorou versus Sam Alvey. And Elias Theodorou, his style kind of plays in Sam Alvey's hands. That's why I think Sam Alvey wanted this fight. I think Sam Alvey gets better as the fight goes, and Elias kind of relies on people breaking, but I don't think he's going to be able to break Sam Alvey because, like I said, Sam Alvey's one of those guys, he's kind of like Michael Chiesa, where he's slow in the beginning, but he gets better towards the end, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think Elias will probably win the first round, maybe the first two, but I think Sam Alvey will eventually catch him and probably finish him. I'm guessing late second, maybe mid-third. Next is Chris Beal versus Joe Soto, and Chris Beal's a good striker, but he just has like no knockout power. I think he has like 1 or 2 knockout wins out of his 10 wins, and he's shown a weakness to really good grapplers, and I think as long as Joe Soto can kind of get this to the ground, I think he should be able to submit him. I think Joe Soto's just way better on the ground. If he can't get it down, I have no idea. I think it could go either way, but like I said, Chris Beal's lack of power is just really disturbing because it seems like he's a really good striker, but he just has no knockout wins, so it's hard to really bet on him. So I'm going to pick Joe Soto just because I think he's a more proven finisher, and on the ground he's just levels above him. So I'm going to say Joe Soto wins by like rear naked choke. Next is Tandem McCrory versus Christoph Jodico, and this is kind of the same thing with the Chris Beal thing where this guy's got like 17 or 18 wins but only like 4 or 5 knockouts, and he's primarily a striker. As where Tandem McCrory has great striking, great jiu-jitsu, and he only has like 1 decision win over a guy who's never been finished. So I just feel like it's one of those things where Tandem McCrory's got good striking, good grappling, great conditioning, and I feel like he's got the wrestling where he could force this fight to the ground, and if it goes to the ground, Christoph Jodico's already been submitted by a guy who, in my opinion, kind of fights like Tandem McCrory, just not as good. In that, I forget what his name was, but he's that Swedish guy. So I feel like the same thing is going to happen. I feel like Tandem McCrory is going to get this fight to the ground, and he's going to win by submission, probably in the second round. Next is Misha Kurinov versus Ian. I have no idea how to say this guy's last name, these fucking European dudes. I'm going to pick Ian, though. I think he's shown really great grappling and really great submissions. He's got a couple wins by, like, omoplata. He's got a pretty good active guard, and like I said, he's primarily a striker, so that's always good to see guys who are well-rounded. And this is 205, and I've said this before. I think 205 is in the most desperate need for new talent, and both these guys are really good up-and-comers. They're both, Misha's already 2-0 in the UFC, but I feel like Ion's just a little bit better everywhere, so I say he probably wins by late TKO. Next is Jason Sago versus Leandro Silva. Hold on just 1 second. Yeah. And Leandro Silva, he's kind of a decent wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy, but that's about it. Jason Sago is kind of a decent jiu-jitsu guy with good striking. I feel like, Jason Sago's biggest weakness is he'll try to force fights to the ground a lot, and I think Leandro Silva can stop that, and he kind of has decent technical striking. I don't know. This fight just feels like it's going to be really boring, but I feel like Jason Sago is eventually going to clip him maybe and just win by TKO. But I could honestly see this being a really close, boring fight where Leandro Silva just stuffs takedowns and throws technical strikes. But to me, this is probably the closest fight in the whole card. And I'm not saying this fight's going to be good. I just feel like these guys are going to like kind of cancel each other out, and nothing's going to happen for 3 rounds. That's why this is just so hard for me to pick. But I'm going to pick Sago by TKO, but like I said, I imagine this fight's going to be boring as hell. Next is Valerie Letourneau versus Joanne Calderwood. And my biggest fear going into this fight is Valerie Letourneau is a really great fighter. Her record's like 8-4, but if you look at the 4 people she's lost to, it's like Sarah Kaufman, Alexis Davis, Claudia Gadelia, and why can't I remember her name? The strawweight champion right now, the Polish chick. So she's only lost to really badass people, and she's just been fighting. She was fighting at 45, and I thought she was too big for that weight class, and now she's fighting at 35. But now she's moving down to like 125 or 115, and she's already said that this is a really hard weight cut for her. With Joanne Calderwood, she looked like she was small for the 135 class, so this looks like a good drop for her. I just don't know. I think Valerie Letourneau's cutting way too much weight, and I think it's going to hurt her in the fight. And she's already said that this is a really hard weight cut, so I'm going to pick Joanne Calderwood to win by decision. I just think she looks like she needs to fight at the flyweight, and Letourneau doesn't. So I think Letourneau is going to not look great from cutting so much weight, and I think Joanne Calderwood wins by decision. Next is Olivier Mercier versus Tybet Gulat. And Tybet doesn't look great. He doesn't look UFC level. I thought he looked decent, but he clearly was just not fighting great people in France or whatever. Alances Mercier is just going to take this guy down and submit him early. I mean, they're just being Alances Oliveira fight at this point. Next is Steve Bosse versus Shane O'Connell. These guys kind of have similar styles where they kind of like to have these technical brawls. I think Shane O'Connell's got a little bit of advantage because he's a better grappler. They've both been knocked out before, so it's one of those things where it's just who do you think's chin is still better at this point. I'm going to go with Shane O'Connell just because I think that overall his conditioning I think is better, and I think his ability to grapple might also help him as long as he didn't get caught with a huge shot like he did against that other Swedish 205er that trains with Alexander. I can't remember all these guys' names off the top of my head. Sorry, guys, but you know what I'm talking about. He trains with Alexander Gustafsson. Ilya Latifi. Okay, there we go. Yeah, he got caught really early in that fight, but I still think he has a really good chin, and if he can drag this into deep waters, I say he wins by third round TKO like he did in that one fight that he got fired the night for. So I picked Shane O'Connell by TKO. Next is Donald Cerrone versus Patrick Cote, and Patrick Cote's been looking really good, but his jiu-jitsu is just not on the same level as Cerrone's, and I don't think his striking is on the same level either. I think, could he catch him with those uppercuts like he did in his last fight? Yeah, we saw Eddie Alvarez do that. There are definitely ways he can win this fight. I think he's got probably more one-punch knockout power than Cerrone does, but I feel like this is going to kind of be like how Cerrone did against Jeremy Stephens. I think he'll be able to move away from the big power, get takedowns when he needs to. And I say he either wins by submission or decision. I just feel like this fight's going to play out exactly like how the fight with Jeremy Stephens was, where he's just too technical and too good everywhere, as where Patrick Cote is kind of just a good striker with some jiu-jitsu. So Cerrone by either decision or submission. Finally, we got Rory McDonald versus Stephen Thompson. I think Stephen Thompson's a great striker, but we've already seen in the Matt Brown fight that his grappling is just okay at best. His takedown defense has obviously gotten better, but that's against kind of wrestlers who like to bully. Rory McDonald's got those kind of like GSP takedowns where he's reacting to like strikes and shit. And I feel like that's going to be that to me is the hugest difference, is that he's not like a Johnny Hendricks, what's his face, the black dude who's fighting for the title. I can't remember, but I'm sorry, I'm forgetting all these guys' names, but he's not one of those wrestlers who likes to bully people against the fence and force takedowns. His takedowns are much more like, you're coming in on me and I'm shooting in response to that. So that's, it's different. I feel like if he gets Stephen Thompson to the ground, Stephen Thompson's probably not going to be able to get back up. And even if he does, I don't think he'll continuously be able to get back up. I think Roy's got a huge advantage on the ground, and I don't think that Stephen Thompson's striking is huge gaps above Roy's. I think Roy can stand on the feet if he has to, but I don't think Stephen can hang Rory if it goes to the ground. And that's where I feel like the big difference is going to be. Could Stephen catch him? Yeah, absolutely. Stephen could knock him out like any round. But I'm going to go with the safer bet, which is just Roy getting a takedown, eventually winning by submission like an armbar or rear naked choke. I'm going to say late, maybe third or fourth round. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.